Royal Alexandra Hospital hit again with protesters against mandatory vaccines for healthcare workers.
We're working our asses off to protect these idiots.
Nurse Rebecca Riches decided to speak to reporters about her frustration, only to have the rally organizer accuse her of lying.
The reason the nurses are overworked is because of the protocols. That's why they're overworked. They are not overworked because they're overrun with COVID patients. So if you could stop lying, that would be very helpful.
I work on the COVID floor. I know what's going on.
And how many beds are full today?
All of our beds.
This is the second protest at this hospital, this time a much smaller crowd and drawing counter-protesters with signs supporting healthcare workers. Advertised as organized by nurses, this rally not organized by a healthcare worker.
Reached last week by a nurse by the name of Kristen. She is associated with the Canadian Frontline Nurses.
Is she in Alberta?
Kristen is out of province.
City News was unable to find a healthcare worker in the crowd. The United Nurses of Alberta disavowing this protest, calling it demoralizing, highlighting how they have no affiliation. It's also been condemned by AHS and the Alberta government.
Choice! No mandatory vaccine!
Over at the ER, doctor and former MLA Raj Sherman wonders why they can't protest at the legislature, instead of where doctors are overrun with COVID patients, the majority unvaccinated.
They're very sick, and many of the times now they want the vaccine, and it's tough looking at the fear in their eyes, knowing that they may never talk to a family member ever again.
Organizers of the protest against mandatory vaccines for healthcare workers say the reason they're not at the legislature is because they've protested there and not gotten attention, whereas those who work inside the Royal Alexandra say this is just not the right place.
Every single week there have been protests, one or more, at the Alberta legislature. However, the media did not take notice.
Alberta has been canceling surgeries to open up more beds for COVID patients. And a doctor at this hospital recently hit with a death threat. Extra police and peace officers were on hand. But as healthcare workers watched the crowd, what would happen if one of these protesters were to be admitted with COVID?
I'd be mad, but it's our job, right? But I tell ya, the anger would be up to here.
As a physician, as a healthcare worker, whether you're vaccinated or not and you're sick, we're going to look after you all the same. I'm just asking everybody to decrease the temperature on this issue, and let's all work together to get through this.
From the Royal Alexandra Hospital, Carly Robinson, City News.